All right, guys. Well, here we are, and guess what? Guess who this guy is? This is Martin Encinas Leon. He is a top producing agent here in San Francisco. So we're just going to chop it up and talk a little bit about the San Francisco real estate market and what's going on, because you all know, man, for those people who are talking about bubbles, San Francisco is the bubble, but it's a bubble in the sense that it doesn't go down. It only keeps inflating, right?
But that's what it seems like right now. But we are seeing some changes as rates, inflation, the war, that has impact on buyer consumers. So definitely seeing some changes in the market right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're going to continue to see stuff. I mean, look, the reality is that when rates go up this high, this quick, it has a tendency to really freak people out, right? It's almost like being in a boat and doing a 90-degree, people are going to go the other way and fall out into the water. Kind of that's happening now, so we're having to do a lot of what I call emotion management. For those who can, still my mantra is do, and do it quickly, because if not, rates are going to continue to go up. We're predicting another 3 interest rate hikes by the Fed coming up, so what can I tell you? Again, when you can, then do.
And I want to follow up with that. I think that's the right strategy. The way I position it to my clients, especially the buyer clients, is if you're able to pay the monthly payment, which is the true payment, get in the market. You still want to hope for equity in the long term, but if rates do drop in the future, you could always refinance, and you're going to be happy that you got in when you got in. And because who knows where the prices will be, but if you can afford it now, that's always the best approach.
Absolutely, because if you do nothing, guess what? You're not going to have the tax write-off, and more importantly, you're not going to have the equity accumulation, right? Because think about this. Think about the house that you wanted. How much did it cost 5 years ago? That could have all been equity in your pocket, right? So it is a way of forced savings is a home. And what other investment can you live in and get tax write-off and the upside called equity?
That's no other investment. Today, April 29th, what are the rates right
now? We're hovering in the 5s to mid-5s, depending on your credit score, depending on the amount of down payment, that sort of thing.
And the reason why I ask is when I got into business 6 years ago in 2017, all I kept hearing from the extras say, this is the best time to buy. Rates were around 4.5 to 5%, and they're like, this is the lowest it's been historically. So this is when the moment to buy. So in perspective, rates did drop drastically during the pandemic, but it seems like we're back to when I got into business 6 years ago, and prices are a lot higher than what they were. I remember when a 3-bed, 2-bath, single-family home in the Sunset was around 1.1, 1.2, and now it's 1.6 and 1.7. So 6 years, the rates are the same, and the prices are almost $500,000 higher.
It's 100% true. Look, we got used to free money, and the reality is that free money was artificial. It was artificial because the Fed had to, right, to keep us from going into either a really strong recession or a mild depression. They had to subsidize us. It is what it is, but that wasn't the truth. Those were artificial rates. The reality is in the last 30 to 40 years, the average rate on a 30-year fix was between 6 and 7%. And those of you who bought in 1981, you remember, the rate went up to 21%. And then it went down to 13, and everybody thought, oh, free money at 13%. So it's the human brain that tricks us, right? Because we love free stuff. In that case, rates were at 2.5%. That was free money. So if you didn't take advantage of it then, learn your lesson, keep going, and don't let your brain trick you into thinking to wait, because is there a bubble, man? Is there going to be a 10 to 20% drop in prices?
I don't see the prices dropping, and the only reason why I don't see them dropping is we have limited inventory and limited amount of homes for sale, and I think that's what's driving the prices up. But just on a side note, 21%?
That was how it peaked. And then it came down to 13 because they were having the same problem we're having right now. We had massive inflation, and Paul Volcker, who was the chairman of the Fed back then, who was 7 feet tall, by the way, huge guy, he had to raise rates in order to stop the roller coaster of inflation. And that's always the case, right? Now, I think the rates are going to come back down probably by the end of the year, beginning Q1 of next year. But, that's crystal ball stuff. We don't know 100%. But if I look at the technicals, I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah, and some of my buyers are taking a break now due to everything else, right? Yes, inflation. The war has definitely impacted some of my clients' stock. So some of the tech companies have dropped, in stock prices, and I think that hinders some of the purchasing power, because if you had a $300K down payment and now it's $225, that's substantial, and it makes a difference.
So let's talk about San Francisco for a bit.
Yeah.
If you're a first-time home buyer and you don't have tech money, where do you go to buy in the city?
Well, you go where you can afford, and then it's a matter of, do you like what you can afford or not, right? But I do still see the bigger value is in the condo market. Surprisingly, because of the pandemic, I saw prices drop in the condo market, and they've relatively stayed pretty flat for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I do think the bang for your dollar, the condo market, so long as you can still afford the HOA and again, what's the compromise, right? If statistics show that people aren't living in their homes forever, so getting a condo, as things start to open up again in San Francisco, it grows back in equity in the next 3 to 7 years, and if you can get some good equity and get the tax write-offs like you mentioned earlier, then you can leverage your condo to either resell it, rent it out, and have some passive income, and then buy that single-family home that you ideally would prefer. That's the strategy that I'm giving my clients.
Yeah, I think it's a good one, quite frankly, because you're right. The condo market has been suppressed because of the whole COVID situation. Nobody wanted to shelter in place in a big building with a bunch of people and have to dart to the elevator to go downstairs, right?
Exactly.
So I get what you're saying, and so that is still a good value now, even though they've been rebounding a little bit, but not nearly as quickly as single family, right?
Yeah, and of course certain neighborhoods are still going to be more popular than others, and the quality of how move-in ready it is, or the quality of the unit itself, that's going to determine the price as well. But overall, I think the condo market is the best option.
What do you think as far as neighborhoods? Any favorite neighborhoods you like?
I mean, that's all subjective to what you like. I grew up in the Mission, but I live in the west side of San Francisco now, and I enjoy being close to Golden Gate Park. I enjoy being close to coffee shops like this one right here at Home Cafe. So it all depends on what you're looking for, but there's certain neighborhoods that Hayes Valley is still very popular.
Yeah.
Bernal Heights is still very popular. Noe Valley, Dolores Heights, Mission. Just because the proximity to restaurants, coffee shops, public transportation, and I think if people are working from home, they want to have the ability to, hey, it's my lunch break, let me go grab a coffee, or let me grab a bite down the street real quick.
Yeah, get a little social time in.
Exactly.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And what's your prediction? What do you think? What's the crystal ball of Martin saying is going to happen between now and the end of the year? What kind of appreciation, if any, in the city?
Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, we're expecting interest rates to keep going up. So there is going to be some sort of price correction, but just because prices drop or stay flat doesn't mean that you're going to save more money with the rates. So I think a lot of buyers are understanding that, and they're seeing the numbers when you compare them side to side. And my prediction is that the market is going to continue to stay strong because of that.
What do you think? 10% growth in prices, or what do you think?
I don't have a percentage top of mind, but yeah, that sounds about right.
7 to 10%.
7 to 10%. And again, just by the limited inventory and the risk of getting a higher interest rate if you don't get in now.
That's true. What do you think of, what about building in San Francisco? Are they going to build more, man, or are we just going to talk about it? It seems like there's a lot of building going on, but is that apartments? Is that condos?
There's condos mostly. No, not a lot of single-family homes. At least not that I'm seeing. So like even down on Valencia Street and 13th, like I saw new complexes go up and more condos are coming up. There's been a few others in like downtown areas, Soma area. So again, it's there's some new constructions that are finishing up.
Okay.
So,
and then there's the Bayview too, right? I mean, the Bayview's transformed quite a bit, and you got those condos right on the water.
The shipyard. Actually, I have a client in the escrow
What do you
right
think
now.
of those?
I think they're a good opportunity. And again, it goes back to, are you going to be okay with being an early adopter of what's happening in that neighborhood and what's changing? They have huge plans of, entertainment, arts.
Yeah, I saw that.
Shopping centers, shopping corridors. So until that stuff is completed, it's going to be construction.
But you buy
area.
the future, right? I mean, that's the point. You buy it now so that when they build it, there goes your equity, right? I mean, that's the play.
And I guess the question as a buyer, you want to ask yourself, are you willing to wait it out?
Yeah.
Because once everything is completed, and if it potentially becomes the next Embarcadero or the next Fisherman's Wharf, it might be too late at that point.
Yeah, no, look what's happened, exactly.
And then you have the biotech companies right across that water. Oyster Point in South San Francisco. And from what I heard is that they're planning on doing a ferry, So it's gonna from Oyster Point, Candlestick, Shipyard to the Warriors, UCSF, and then Embarcadero.
Yeah, so you can see a lot of stuff coming up. The city's not done yet. So if you're looking to buy in the city, now's the time. Because, look, if you look at the history of San Francisco, you can buy a burned down house, and in 5 years you're making money. I mean, it's just the truth, right? I remember this house I went for over $1 million in Bernal was actually burned down.
One just sold a few months ago.
Burned?
Across the street from Crocker Amazon.
What?
Yeah, it was completely had a hole in the sand. It went over $1 million.
Wow. Well, there you go. You heard it here first. So, Martin, how do people get a hold of you so that you can give them the lay of the land and customize it for them?
You can call my cell, 415-652-4532. Contact me on social media. My handle is Encinas Leon, ENCINAS LEONRE. Or, send me an email, my website. Anywhere you can, WhatsApp.
There you go. Well, I highly recommend that you reach out to him because this guy's been here his whole life. He knows exactly how it works in the city. If you're looking to buy in San Francisco, this is the guy you want to partner up with. All right. Well, thank you again for watching, everybody. Have a great day. And remember, if you can, then do.